Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. We are Millennial Mom. If you don't know who is who, I'm Millennial. This is Mom.
Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, I'm Mom or Kay from Millennial Mom, and today we're going to talk about Match Me Abroad Season 1 Episode 8. Please take your time. Now before I begin, just like with every video, if you haven't already subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Like the video, leave your comments so I know what you thought about the singles that's on the show looking for love abroad. And don't forget to tell a friend about this series, Match Me Abroad. All right, so let's get started. So on this episode, we're going to have Michelle. We're going to see also Susan, Mark, Stanika, and Chad. So let's start with Michelle up first. So Michelle has made it to Prague. If you remember Michelle, we were introduced to her last week. She is a part-time Disney princess, and I also believe she's in the she's an executive or some type. She decided that she's going to go abroad to find her match in Prague, and she said that she was going to go a couple years ago, but of course the pandemic happened, and not just that, her father passed away, so she had to refocus, regroup, and get herself back together and be in the right headspace. So she's headed to Prague now to meet with Katarína, the matchmaker. Now, one thing Michelle said about Katarína is, Michelle says she did her research. She said that Katarína was also someone who used a match to find her spouse and liked it so much that now she's a matchmaker. So she feels she knows what she's doing and is in the right place. Now, Michelle also said that she wants a tall, dark, and handsome man and always felt that he would come somewhere from Eastern Europe. So hence the reason why she's in Prague. So she's finally made it to Prague. Is now meeting up with Katarína, the matchmaker. And Katarína is asking Michelle, like, what are your expectations? Because also Michelle describes herself as not just a feminist, but a staunch feminist, where she's going to hold her ground, that someone has to meet her exactly where she is, look at her as an equal, not just a pretty face, not be part of the norm that society put on you, a young girl, that you have to be pretty all the time to be, someone in this world. Michelle has put all that to the side. It's like, nope, you're going to like me for me, and that's it, period. So Michelle says to Katarína that she's looking for someone with an open mind, someone that's ambitious, a hard worker, an adventurous, and cute, of course, right? Katarína says, that's fine that you have these high standards, that you're a feminist, but how do you think that your views will come across with someone who's more traditional from the Eastern European world? Because they don't see things as necessary as you do, not as necessarily as you do as a woman that lives in America. They're more traditional based and valued, their mothers, their family. Not saying that they don't in America, but here, this is what they look at first. And so she's saying to Michelle, like, what exactly are your expectations? Like, do you think they're too high? Michelle says no, she doesn't think they're too high. She just really wants someone to want her for her. Now, Katarína said to Michelle, listen, I get it, but you also have to let loose a little bit, be open and be vulnerable. And Michelle, she thinks that for her to be vulnerable, she's going to give away some of her feminism that she's not trying to do. So I don't know. I think Michelle, she does come across like she has a hard exterior, but she does say that it was based off of being hurt in the past, being cheated on, but being hurt and cheated on in the past versus being a staunch feminist about who you are and how you value yourself is two different things. And yeah, it's just gonna be maybe a harder go for Michelle as she goes on her date. But Katarína hooks her up with Michael, who is 40, a doctor established. And Katarína says in confessional that Michael has been a little bit more Americanized. So he is used to someone with the open mind like a Michelle, who is looking for someone that is on the same level. So when Michelle goes to meet Michael, it looks like they're having a cooking date of some sort. Looks like Michael's trying to make a cake, or actually Michael and Michelle are trying to make a cake. And so Michael was looking at the ingredients like one by one, and still at the same time getting to know Michelle. He's really focused into getting the cake done, versus Michelle, she's standing off to the side, kind of like looking at Michael, but trying to like engage him in conversation. Michelle saying things, and it comes across off-putting. Like, well, before I came here, I was part of a burlesque show. I've also been part of a fetish world in Atlanta. And on the first date, I'm just getting to know you. Is that really something that you want to bring as part of your personality as, hey, I'm Michelle, nice to know you. Let's get this cake together, see how we can connect if there's a spark. But Michael in confessional says, yeah, he hears Michelle talking, but the conversation he's having is going in one ear and out the other. He's saying, is what I'm getting reading between the lines, that it's also off-putting. And Michelle is just like standing again to the side with her hand on her hip, this look on her face like, why isn't he into me kind of thing. So yeah, definitely Michelle is going to have to lighten up a little bit, be open, and be not as off-putting when it comes to conversation. But then it gets me to thinking, maybe Michelle doesn't really know how to have conversation with someone because she's not used to in talking to a man, dating like that in that type of environment because of what she believes and how she views how things should go. So I don't know. Michelle is going to be a hard nut to crack, in my opinion. All right, so let's move to Chad. So Chad is the next morning, and he's meeting with matchmaker Juan to get cleaned up a little bit at the barbershop, and he's going to talk with Juan about how he felt his date went with Maria from the day before. Now, Chad doesn't know that Juan has already talked to Maria about the date that they had, and Chad was telling Maria, we saw from last week, that he's been in a relationship, well, many relationships, and he's also been engaged 3 times. And this kind of threw Maria back, but I think it would throw a lot of people back, like, oh, you've been engaged 3 times? Like, what is it about you or your relationships that didn't turn out? So when Chad gets to the barbershop, Juan is asking, so how do you think the date went with Maria? And what do you think about her? Chad said, oh, Maria's everything that you said she would be. She's pretty, she's tall, she's just how I was picturing her to be in Colombia, because Chad said he has a preference. He said he wanted him a Colombian woman. And so Juan is telling Chad that, yes, Maria thinks he's attractive and all, but had a little problem with the conversation about those 3 engagements. So Juan is saying, well, maybe you don't have to give everything about your past relationships at first, but take it easy and slow down. Let the conversation come naturally. And Chad agreed with that. He's like, yeah, maybe it was me. And yes, in the past, I did move a little bit too fast in these relationships. So he's going to take Juan's advice to heart. Also, Juan said in confessional as well that a lot of Colombian women are looking for a gringo man like Chad, someone with a big heart and the cowboy style. So Chad has a lot of potential in Colombia, but just with his conversation, yeah, he needs to dial it back just a little bit. And then Juan also asked, so did you ask Maria for a second date? And Chad says, well, he was hoping to get one. But I think Juan was saying, if you asked her, what was the answer versus you hoping to get one. So Chad also is another single who needs to open up a little bit and speak up some, because Chad seems like he's a little bit more introverted versus Michelle, who's way more extroverted. But Chad needs to come out of his shell in a different type of way and relax. So, all right, well, we'll see if he gets another date with Maria or goes on a different date that Juan has set up for him in Colombia. Okay, so let's move to Mark. So Mark is on a date with Huda. Now, if you saw the episode last week, Mark had to go to Huda's house to pick her up because Nathaly set up the date like that to meet the family first. Also, The matchmaker, I said Nathaly, I'm sorry, her name's not Nathaly. The matchmaker, her name is Nina, set Mark up with another lady, Huda, like I said, but she's also 24 years old. Mark is 44. Mark told Nina when he first got there that he wasn't interested in being with someone who he had to fully provide for. Like, she needed to be independent. Yes, he wanted to settle down, get married, and have kids, but he wasn't trying to, like, take care of somebody, and Mark, I don't know, he's kind of, to me, it's funny like that in a way when he said that, because for your wife or your spouse, why wouldn't you want to help take care of her, and like vice versa? But Mark just wants them independent. He just don't want to give all his money to his wife for whatever reason he feels that's necessary. But Huda has decided to go on a date with him. Huda's brother said, "Oh, wow, you're old," when he learned that he was 44 years old. It didn't at first seem like Huda necessarily had a problem with it, but I think as time goes on, she might, just based off conversation they were having when they finally made it to the boat that they were having dinner at. So Marcus, all smiles. He seemed like he has a spark with Huda. He's attracted to her. He's also attracted knowing that Huda has a business, so she's an entrepreneur. So that means he doesn't have to take care of her, if she does come to the States to be his wife, whatever. Yeah, I think Huda says that, let me phrase that. I think Huda knows that Mark is older. Of course, he's 44, but she doesn't necessarily know that he doesn't want to fully support her. Now, in the Moroccan culture, where Huda's from, that's tradition. Nina said it was tradition that the man fully takes care of the wife. So I don't know how Huda, even though she's very ambitious and has her own business and seems like she's self-sufficient, all the big words, she may follow that traditional lifestyle where she would want that from Mark. But, they have regular conversation. What do you do? What do you want out the match? Where do you think you'll be? Where do you think you'll go? Just standard questions. I don't know. Mark just seems like, again, he's ready to move to the next step, which he is based on his age. Huda seems like she's there because the matchmaker set her up with the date. She isn't necessarily impressed about Mark and what he does for a living, the sportscaster thing. She said, "Oh, it's nice, it's different." I don't know. When Mark was asking her questions like, "So do you see yourself being married and having kids already, at your age?" Huda hesitates some and then says, "I don't know." And then when Huda says that, this is really not something that can be discussed, not really discussed or thought about on the first date, like maybe we ought to take some time, Mark high-fived her like, "Okay, cool. So, maybe we could be on the same page." I don't know. It came off a little awkward-ish to me. It gave Mark, yes, he's attracted to Huda, but he was trying to see what they had in common, kind of. I don't know. It was different. I'm just not sure why Nina feels like Mark needs to be with someone 20 years younger that would actually be ready to be married with kids already. So I don't know. Nina also said, the matchmaker, that age is nothing but a number, or just a number, however she phrased it. But sometimes it does make a difference on where you are in life and what you want and need going forward. So I don't know. Maybe if we see them on a second date, they may discuss it more, but I think Huda's family, based off Mark's age, will probably shut it down. So we'll have to see. All right, now let's move to Susan. So Susan, her dog Calliope, and matchmaker Juan are going on a date with Mauricio. Now, Juan is also going on the date because, one, to translate for Susan, and two, to see how Susan really is on these dates, because Susan's came back 2 separate times, complained to Juan about the matches she's been on. And actually, Susan said that she's really tired of this nonsense. And if he can't find her someone, then she's just going to go ahead and go home. But Juan feels that Susan is the one that's problematic in these dates, that Susan isn't open. She's closed off. She's got these walls up. But in all fairness, Susan's first date was kind of into himself. He wouldn't let her get a word in edgewise. He seemed like he was very, I don't know, about him, and that's it, like the world revolved around him, and that was it. So I get that. And then the second date with Carlos, he was a little younger. He was artistic. He was still trying to get his footing in being an actor. And Susan said, listen, this would have been cool if I was 20 years younger, and she's not trying to start over and build with someone that wasn't ready to build financially because she was already set. So I get that, but Susan still didn't seem like she was open to just having like a friendship. So I think that's what the issue was. What not just was, is. So on this date, Mauricio, he seems like he is established. He is definitely in Susan's peer group. When Susan saw Mauricio, she looked like she had a spark. She was like, oh, finally. She noticed his head of hair. He did have a lot of hair. It gave 50-ish Elvis-esque type hair, just like with Michael, with Michelle for the first date. Yeah, they look like they could have been cousins with the same type of hair, and they actually kind of look a little similar as well. Also, Also, Susan had a smile, something I've never seen Susan have on any of her dates. But you know what? Just what I explained with the dates that she had previously, I can see why she wasn't smiling. But Susan does come across like she has it just a little bit better than you, and it comes across that way. So it's a double-edged sword with Susan. But the conversation with Mauricio and Susan went well. Of course, the standard questions: what do you do for a living? Have you ever been married? Do you have kids? Different things like that. Susan said that her last relationship was about 6 years ago. She does have a older child. Mauricio asked Susan, what is it that she's looking for in a man? Susan said that she wants someone who will, be into her, who would value her, who she can travel with, just all the things in life that she's ready for in the next step on her journey, right? And so Mauricio said that he is a graphic artist. He has a 24-year-old child, and he's also open, looking, and ready to date. Susan is very impressed by Mauricio's things that he does for work. He shows her his graphic artwork on his phone. Susan also mentioned that she was into art as well. And Mauricio said, oh, so you studied art? She's like, no, I didn't study art. I just like going to museums and things like that. So I think on that level, it's a different type of maturity level that Susan definitely needs. And to be honest, just by meeting Mauricio for the first time and seeing him, I think he needs that too, as someone looking for the same thing Susan is. Because if Susan brought the same energy that she had last weekend with her first day, yeah, I think it would have been a wrap with Mauricio, because he really gives off this mature, I'm ready also to move to the next stage in life. So Mauricio asked Susan, so how old do you think that I am? And so Susan gave a guess like, I don't know, 60? He's like, oh, no, lower. First of all, he don't even look 60. So when he asked Susan to guess again, she guessed another age, and turns out Mauricio is 51. He looks good to be 51, because Susan is 52, 53 herself. So yeah, same peer group, seem like they got the same level, like I mentioned, of maturity, and the conversation literally just flowed. And even in confessional, Juan said he was impressed with Susan, that she was so laid back, so open, and so vulnerable with this date this time around. So yes, Susan seemed like this could be a possible potential match going forward. Mauricio said that, he would like to see her again. So hopefully they can get another date and see how this will possibly progress. All right, so let's move to Stanika. So Stanika has received a FaceTime from Nordine. So, okay, now Stanika, she was talking about, hey, boo, and blew a kiss to Nordine. So that's what it is. She's been waiting for Nordine to come back for a minute, because the date that she's been on, she wasn't feeling Salah, and she definitely wasn't feeling Salah's family. Or was it the other way around? Either way, she was waiting on Nordine. Well, Nordine said he was back in town and he wants to see her and meet her for lunch. But there is one catch, that Nordine said he's been telling his mother about Stanika. So not only are they going to go to lunch. They're going to go to lunch with Nordin's mom and also Nordin's older brother, because in the Moroccan culture, it is tradition for the family, or especially the mother, to approve of whoever you're dating. And if they don't approve, then your relationship is done. So, of course, this throws Stanika for a loop because, again, she remembered how it went down with Salah and his family. But since she likes Nordin and is hoping that Nordin could be the one for her, she says she feels that Nordin could possibly be her first real boyfriend. She's willing to go ahead and meet the family. But I'm like, if you want to be with Nordin and to work out, this is something that you actually have to do. So Stanika says to Nordin, okay, cool. So in America, when you go to someone's house to meet the family, you usually bring some wine or something like that. What is appropriate to bring? Nordin said, well, no, we can't bring wine because that is forbidden to bring in the household. But I'm going to pick you up, take you to a fabric store so you can get some fabric so my mom can make something out of the cloth that you bring. So Stanika agreed to that. Now, when we see Nordin later on, he picks up Stanika. They go to a fabric shop. She's like, so what color should I get for your mom? And Nordin said, so what color do you like? What's your favorite color? Stanika says, purple. And Nordin said, my mom does not wear purple. So inside the fabric shop, as Stanika's looking around, she actually picks out this shiny, looks like a satiny, charcoal bluish type material. I thought it was really pretty to give to Nordin's mom. And she said, so do you think she'll like it? And Nordin said, well, we'll have to see. So I'm really hoping that this relationship will work out for Nordin and Stanika. They really do seem like they are a match and they have that spark. So, but then again, it is up to the mom to decide if this is the right match for her son or not. So hopefully she'll say yes and they can move forward and progress in their relationship. All right, everyone. So that was the end of the episode. But next week, we're going to see Harold. He's going to be out in the park doing yoga with his date, Michaela. Him and Michaela have definitely hit it off. Remember when we saw Harold, if you saw the episode, he invited Michaela back to his room not his room, the hotel for dinner. And then Michaela back to his room to show Michaela his special journal, the things that he's got written down in there, his prized possessions. Harold's emotional because he knows that his time is coming to an end in Prague, and Michaela also has to get back to her life. So he's has to decide what it is that he's going to do. Like, will Harold stay in Prague or will he invite Michaela back to the States? So we'll have to wait and see what Harold decides. Also, we see Susan accept another date with Mauricio, and we'll see if sparks continue to fly. And then we have Michelle being upset still at the date with Michael, saying that she doesn't feel like the date is going as planned and they aren't having good communication. And then we have Nathaly meeting up with matchmaker Juan. She's wanting to go back out on a date with Alejandro because she also feels like he could be the one. But Juan comes to tell Nathaly something about Alejandro, and we'll have to see what that is next week. And then finally, we see Stanika and Nordin on the way to the restaurant to meet Nordin's mother and brother to talk and see if the relationship will get the approval. So, all right, everyone. Thank you again for watching. Don't forget to leave your comments, subscribe to the video, and tell a friend to tell a friend about Match Me Abroad and all the other shows that we do, the 90-Day Fiancés, the Married at First Sight, and coming soon, the Ready to Love. So, okay, everyone. Thank you again for watching. And until next time, live simply, be grateful.